We're on to our second interview of the evening. Let me introduce Combat Zone Wrestling's own Retail Dragon. No, Lucky 13. Lucky, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've got to know how the Retail Dragon came about, because I just laugh my head off every time I see that and read about the story. Can you tell us a little bit how that came about?
That was one of Quackenbush's ideas. I think there was actually, I guess it was supposed to be kind of like a spoof on the Super Dragon that I did not do a very good job of spoofing. Uh, but like I guess Super Dragon knew about it and he was cool with it, so I didn't have to worry about like getting beat up or anything. So that was cool. But yeah, it was one of like Quackenbush's ideas. He always comes up with all these, crazy, wacky ideas, and a lot of people tend to take the ball and run with them a lot better than I feel like I did. But I was really green back then, so.
Well, it really strikes in the heart of Zane and myself. We both used to work in retail together for a while, a few years back, and the extreme customer service specialist. I just laugh every time I see that. So
Yeah, I think I
had to
still got
bring it up.
I think I still got the vest somewhere. Maybe I should wear that out at like a CZW show. I don't
That
think
would be
DJ would let me,
hilarious.
but.
But you actually got trained in the Wrestle Factory at Chikara, and you said Mike Quackenbush, but also Chris Hero.
Yeah, and Claudio.
Oh, cool.
I trained under all three of them actually. I was there for on and off for I don't know, maybe 2.5 years. I actually originally trained under Supremely Great from WXW, who might I don't know how many people know him, but he might be better known. He trained Mickey Rourke for the movie The Wrestler.
Oh, wrestler, yes.
Yeah, and he was also actually, if you just saw the movie The Wolf on Wall Street, he was Jonah Hill's stunt double for that entire movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so maybe he can hook me up with some of those connections now.
Absolutely. Got my
uh,
comrade Zane with me. Zane, you got questions obviously for Lucky 13 as well.
Well, so you mentioned Claudio, and I'm going to assume that is better known as Antonio Cesaro in the WWE field right now, correct?
yes, sir.
Did he ever pick you up and put you in the big swing? I've seen some of his older footage where he's sent people around 99 times. Did he ever?
No, I was fortunate enough to never have to take that, but have you ever seen him do the move where I call it the Rey Mysterio. I have no idea what the actual name of it. Say the base we'll say is Claudio, and a guy runs up and sticks his head like in between his legs and rolls up him into a powerbomb position.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then Claudio would do a thing where the guy would come back down for a Hurricane Rana, but instead of taking the Rana, he would do like a front flip and land back on his butt into a power bomb. Did you ever see him do that?
No,
I know
that's
he did. He hit it with Quackenbush in like the IWA like Ted Petty Invitational once. I think he only did it like 3 or 4 times. It's actually, if you ever played the game Rumble Roses on PS2, no. Apparently, I was the only person that bought that game.
See,
All
I
right.
think you might be a bigger wrestling nerd than us, and that's awesome.
But
You
that was
might
the
be
black.
the only person who still plays on a PS2.
Oh, what do I look like? A billionaire? An independent wrestler? Yeah, yeah. No, but it's Black Widow's finisher for those of you that actually do have that. And I was the one who at training, Claudia was like, "Hey, let me try this." So we did that like, a bunch of times in a row, and landed on my head a bunch, and it wasn't fun. But then actually when I saw him hit it with Quack like in a match and it got this huge, ovation, I was like, "Oh, awesome. He was finally able to do that with someone better than me, that can actually make it look good."
So
But
how did you get hooked up with Chikara in the first place? Have you always been a wrestling fan your whole life, or how'd that come
the
about?
the Wrestle Factory was actually only like the original Wrestle Factory when it was in Allentown. Was only like 25 minutes from where I live, and me and a bunch of friends, which happened to be like Fire Ant now, and a few other guys, we all went up. We were at actually Chikara's very first show.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was like they advertised it as $5 for 5 matches, and who was on it? Let's see, Blind Rage was on it. Hollow Wicked was actually there, I believe. I believe there was a guy actually named Zane Mardox on the show, which is funny because you said your name's Zane.
My
Uh,
yes.
God, Love Bug, a bunch of like guys just around the Allentown area. But yeah, it was 5 matches for $5, and we went to the show and we're like, this is awesome. And then we went back and they actually brought in La Parka on one of the very early shows.
Oh, cool.
So we got to meet like La Parka. Hey, get out of here, dog. Oh, my dog's being bad.
What's
Yeah,
his name?
Real La Parka, right, Lucky?
yeah, he's the smelliest man I've ever met in my life. I hope he doesn't speak English and watch or listen to this podcast.
I'm going to translate into Spanish and send it to him.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, Lucky,
Whatever.
we're a broadcast all over the world. They translate us into Spanish, German, Italian, Russian, all over the place, man.
Oh,
Portuguese.
fantastic.
Yes.
So he'll definitely hear this.
What's your dog's name?
Rockefeller, or Rocky for short.
Cool.
He's a Shiba Inu. He's badass. Doesn't listen to anyone, bites people. Good dog. Good dog.
Sounds like my dog. So what was it like, you said Claudio, but working with Chris Hero, and obviously Mike too. I mean, those are pretty good names to have getting you started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was always a lot. Well, as far as my chain wrestling, I feel like has gone completely downhill the past like 3 or 4 years since leaving the school and stuff. Because you would just go there and it's just learning something new every single night to just add to your repertoire. And Mike knows so many holds and Chris knows so many holds, and he's showing you a variation on the cravat. And if he ever put you in a cravat, 3 different ways you can get out of it. And something you do in Chikara is you'd bring notebooks with you to class and literally take notes during the class on all the moves you're learning and everything, so you had a reference to go back to, which it was really good for learning.
Now I'm just stunned, that they actually moved on from the retail dragon, the extreme customer service specialist, and actually pin you with the name Lucky 13. How did you get Lucky 13?
I was actually lucky before I was the retail dragon. That's what I was saying
okay.
when, because I started in backyard wrestling, and then we were like, let's go get trained. And in backyard wrestling, my whole gimmick was I was a leprechaun. So it was a dumb name, and I started wrestling, and I hated it, but like it was like my nickname that everybody called me and knew me as, so it like kind of like stuck. And then when I went to CZW original, or the second time, it actually was when I came back with Cult Fiction, because I actually did a little like 1-year run with them back in like 2006. And I came back with Cult Fiction, and Burns was booking, and he's like, hey, we want to bring you in, do this thing, whatever, but you got to change your name. Your name sucks. I'm like, cool, I'm down with that. He's like, how do you like this? 13, but we spell it like hurt, like a play on words. I'm like, it's pretty cool, I guess. And then once the whole Cult Fiction thing ended and Burns no longer was booking, DJ was like, good, you're dropping the 13, you're going back to Lucky. And I'm like, fuck, I hate that name. So can I swear? Is that legal?
You're 21. You can say what you want.
All right, cool.
You're on the Undisputed Wrestling Show.
Sorry. So I was like, oh, I hate that name so much. So I was like, can we keep 13 on the end? And he's like, no. But then I told like the webmaster who was at the show, I'm like, yo, keep 13 on like the website and stuff. So he kept adding that on the website and everything. So the name stuck, And also, it stands out. It's not like a generic indie name. It's so dumb that people will be like, oh, remember that guy with the dumb name and the, shamrock on his tights, Lucky 13? So.
If you haven't gathered by now, we are talking to Lucky 13. You got to face off almost immediately when you were in CZW with one of our guests from last week, the Necro Butcher. What was that like?
Oh, I just hung out with him recently, too.
Oh,
awesome guy. Dude,
Yeah.
He's amazing, isn't he? Like, how elegantly he speaks and everything, compared to, like, how, like, his persona is in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he was awesome, because even though I never worked with him before, we kind of knew each other through passing and, working shows. And for whatever reason, he thought I was, like, a good guy. So we went in there, and the first thing he said, don't worry, kid, I'm not going to beat your ass tonight. And so he took it easy on me, which I was very, cool with. I had no problem. But the thing that was cool with that match was because that was me and JC Bailey, was it? Or was it me and Brain Damage versus Danny and Necro, right? I don't know. I think that was it. Yeah, it was, because that was the match when somebody threw a giant fish in the
Yeah,
match.
you had the Suicide Kings in there too, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't know. This is the first one. But Necro literally showed up to the venue like um five not even 5 minutes before the match, and he had his clothes on. He just took his shoes off. He's like, "All right, I'm going out." So that was one of the first matches because, like, coming from the Chikara background, a lot of the big sequences and everything are all pre-planned and everything. Where we just went out there and didn't have really anything called besides like the finishing spot. So it had like a real like ECW feel to the match because we had no idea what we were doing. So we were just out there just punching each other and grabbing stuff and hitting each other with whatever you could find, and the fans ate it up. So it was awesome.
Well, you said that you were hanging out with Necro. He told us he doesn't leave his house other than to work. So where were you guys hanging out?
No, it was after Cage of Death. He did the Pro Wrestling Syndicate show in New York, and we did the Cage of Death. But he was staying at our hotel, so we had a little party after. And for whatever reason, he was dressed as a woman. Um,
God.
I actually have pictures of that.
Oh, my
I think I
goodness.
tweeted. I think I tweeted a picture of that. He's dressed like an
I
old
can't
woman with like
imagine that.
a wig on and a muumuu, and yeah,
Yeah,
we
do you know
actually had
who
some
the last guest was earlier tonight?
Big Vito, right?
Yes,
Yep.
and his gimmick for a while was that he wore a dress, so it all
Oh,
fits in tonight.
imagine Necro
Apropos.
versus him in a dress versus dress match.
Oh, a bra and panties match.
Yeah, I'd go to that.
Yeah, but remember one thing though, 13. Big Vito is much better looking than the Necro Butcher.
Oh, some may argue that. Different taste for different people.
That's right.
Where are you guys from? You have like a southern accent.
Indianapolis.
Oh, J.C. Bailey country. And
Yes.
Drake. Nice.
Yes, Drake
Yes.
Younger. Drake Younger.
Yeah, what a good guy. He's probably like my favorite person in wrestling, Drake Younger.
Really?
Dude, that guy, you just show up to a show and everyone he sees, he's like, "Yeah, man, what's up? I love you. I'm so happy to see you." And everything he says is so positive and like uplifting, and he's an amazing person.
Well, he's out in California now. What he did a cameo on a Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, he got beat up by Ryback.
Yep.
Yeah, why isn't that guy signed to a major contract yet?
Fuck if I know. Oh shit, I gotta stop swearing. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, dude, think about where he was like 3 years ago. How much weight he lost, and how good of shape he got himself in, and everything.
I I saw him a couple years ago when Daniel Bryan was released from WWE for choking out the ring announcer, and they did a show here in Indy where it was the American Dragon versus the Naptown Dragon, and they tore the house down. It was awesome.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Drake, but I don't know if Danielson can have a bad match. I mean,
Well,
you could
that's true.
put him in a match against a freaking broomstick. He's like a. Did you ever see that match with a Bushi or a Mega, and they work that blow up doll in Japan?
Yes, I've seen that on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes, like Danielson's the same way. He could take a blow up doll and have like a 5-star match with it.